And now we take you to Ottawa. This is Joe Comartin. He is the NDP's Justice Critic.
In the youth offender legislation, finally, after 2 attempts on our part, have made some amendments that make that bill more useful. And it specifically targets that 5 to 10% of the young offenders who are already seriously violent offenders, and it allows for greater ability on the part of our prosecutors and judges to keep them in custody in pretrial. Those were proposals that were not in the original bill. Actually, they came from prosecutors across the country, from Manitoba, Ontario, and Alberta, who appeared twice before the committee, and they actually wrote the amendments that we're now seeing generally incorporated. So they did do that. Beyond that, again, so typical of this government, I understand Mr. Nicholson in his comments today was commenting about the length of time and the number of witnesses and the amount of evidence we've taken. What he didn't mention was that the evidence generally was overwhelmingly opposed to most of this legislation, and the witnesses who came forward pointed out the faults and the frailties of the approach that they're taking. I think the other point that we see here, and again we saw it I think in the press conference that the 2 ministers had, no willingness on their part to cost what this is going to run, not only to the federal treasury but also to the provinces. Let me use the drug bill as an example. The estimates we have from within the department and the Justice Department is we're going to incarcerate between 3,000 and 5,000 more people in Canada by that one piece of legislation, which is only part of this bill.
The drug one?
The drug one. At least 2/3 of those will go into provincial jails at a cost of roughly $80,000 to $85,000 a year. The provinces have identified this as a problem. They've already had an increase in their population, prison populations. They've been asking the federal government to assist them in building new facilities and expanding their staff in order to be able to deal with that demand. Our prosecutors are calling for more services, more prosecutors, so they can prosecute these offenses. And up to this point, the federal government has refused to do anything. They aren't even entering into negotiation with the provinces. So that's going to be a major problem, and in particularly with the drug bill, because of the sheer numbers.
From the young offenders one, are you saying that all the other bills in the omnibus have come to the original? Yes. Yes, it's exactly the same. I've only had 3 hours to look at this bill, but beyond the young offenders, we can't see the other amendments. It's the same bills that we've seen, that we saw in the past Parliament. The majority of parliamentarians voted against parts of this bill. Can you be more specific? What are the amendments that were made last year that are not taken into consideration in the version that's presented today? Answer. The example I could give you is for those who are in prisons in other countries. We had a lot of amendments. Of course, again, I wasn't the critic then, but we had several amendments to change that bill, particularly to withdraw the discretion that this bill gave ministers, and we changed that a lot in the committee. It didn't pass here because we had an election, and that's one of the changes. Then there were many changes that we made, and the 3 parties of the opposition at that time supported these amendments, and the government did not include them in this bill. Now, with regard to house arrest, there were modifications proposed. Are they in this bill now? No, not in this bill. This bill did not go before the Parliamentary Committee. No, but the previous Parliament, when you looked at the bill, yes, we had a bill, the CF, in the 2006 Parliament, and we made a lot of amendments to that bill. That passed. It's law now in Canada, and then after that we had a new bill in the last Parliament, and those amendments have not been changed. Do you envision cases where this bill will go even further than what was announced or seen before? Will it go even further? Has it surprised you? Answer, no. I saw nothing there that changed the bills we saw in the past Parliament. Why was it not studied in a committee, or how many of these bills had not even gone to committee? Most of them? Answer, there are 9 bills that are put together in this omnibus bill, and I think there were at least 6 that went before the committee, and I think the other 3 did not go, I think.
Contention that Canadians gave the government a strong mandate to do justice, to go
That is Joe Martin. He is the NDP's justice critic. He says Rob Nicholson may have said that the government sought out experts for their input on the crime bill, but what Nicholson did not say is that most of the experts disagreed with the government's approach, which is more offences, longer sentences, less house arrest.